At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to Maya and her son Benji, who are going to their grandmother's house for a family get-together. This gathering was arranged especially for Maya's family because she had not visited her mother and brother for many years. Although she had wanted to go several times, her husband always stopped her. Even this time, he tried to prevent her, but Maya did not listen and left with Benji for her mother's house at night. Their driver was distracted and almost caused an accident, which frightened everyone and made Benji feel sick. They stopped the car near the forest for a while, and after some rest, Benji felt better. His mother sat with him, and they talked for some time before walking back to the car. Just as Benji was about to get in, he heard strange, terrifying growls from the forest. He got scared but saw nothing, so he assumed it was his imagination and sat down. As the car started moving, a massive animal from the forest stared at them. Inside the car, Maya and Benji were happy, thinking they would soon meet their grandmother. But the driver was still careless and bent down to pick something up without looking ahead. Suddenly, a huge deer-like creature appeared on the road. The driver tried to swerve, but the animal rammed the car with its horns, flipping it multiple times until it crashed deep into the forest. Even after such a dangerous accident, the passengers were still alive. But the same beast that attacked them began circling the car, filling everyone with fear. Suddenly, it attacked again, pressing its massive weight on the roof and crushing the taxi driver's bones. Maya and Benji somehow escaped and ran terrified into the woods as the mutant deer continued growling and staring at them. Meanwhile, in a house, Maya's mother, Mary, was looking toward the forest, calling the same creature by the name Bambi, as if she knew it. Inside the house, the rest of the family was waiting for Maya and Benji when they noticed Mary standing outside alone at night, which worried Benji's uncle's wife. The younger uncle explained that Mary had been suffering from a mental illness for years and often wandered off alone. They brought her inside and seated her on the sofa. Just then, there was a knock at the door. When they opened it, they saw Maya and her son, who immediately told everyone about the accident and urged them to call the police. But Benji's cousin said there was no signal in the area and the telephone had been dead for days. After hearing Maya's story, everyone began to worry about the driver. Seeing the situation, the younger uncle decided to go there and left immediately. Meanwhile, in the same forest, some hunters arrived at the accident site in their vehicle as if they already knew an accident had occurred. When they reached the site, they began searching the area around the car. Suddenly, a sound came from the forest. Hearing it, all the hunters picked up their weapons and moved cautiously in that direction, carefully searching for prey. One hunter heard a faint rustling nearby but saw nothing. Then suddenly, a loud noise came from the left, startling him. In a panic, he fired his gun. Unfortunately, the bullet did not hit an animal. It struck Benji's uncle, who fell instantly and died on the spot. When the other hunters rushed over, it was already too late. Fearing they had killed a human, they did not call the police and instead decided to hide the body. Meanwhile, in the house, Mary was drawing a terrifying creature, a giant horned shadow, in her notebook. She hung the frightening drawing on the wall, and soon Maya saw it, shivering as she looked at the image of a monstrous horned beast attacking. At the same time, Mary looked extremely frightened in the living room, turning off the lamp and staring out the window. Benji, seeing his grandmother like this, was shocked and quietly stood near her, as if trying to understand why she was suddenly so scared. All of a sudden, a dead bird crashed against the window, startling both of them. Then the lawn lights began to flicker. In the next moment, that same massive creature that had attacked before appeared outside the window. Benji panicked and called loudly for his mother. Maya rushed in and peeked out the window, but nothing was there. Then the lights went out again and came back on, and this time Maya clearly saw the terrifying mutant deer. In fear, she quickly grabbed Benji and Mary and tried to leave. But at that very moment, the giant deer smashed through the window and leapt inside the house. The others in the kitchen heard the horrifying crash and slowly moved toward the sound. Suddenly, from the darkness, Bambi emerged, shocking everyone. The woman hid behind the counter while her husband and son escaped through the kitchen window, leaving her trembling with fear. Suddenly, she felt drops of water falling on her head. Looking up, the monster let out a thunderous roar. She ran terrified to the bathroom and locked the door, but the mutant deer broke it down with brutal strength and stormed inside. She tried to escape through the window, but it was too late. The sharp antlers had already pierced her back. Meanwhile, the rest of the family hurried into the trailer, waiting for the woman to return. Then they saw her running toward them with Bambi close behind. In the very next moment, the monstrous deer pounced on her, ripping her apart with its giant antlers. This horrifying sight left the entire family frozen in terror. Yet they gathered their courage, pulled themselves together, and started the trailer engine, fleeing immediately. The mutant deer ran after them, attacking the trailer and trying to push it off the road and flip it over. Finally, at the last moment, Benji's uncle accelerated the vehicle and somehow managed to drive everyone safely away from that monstrous horror. Meanwhile, the hunters had also reached the house. When they saw the woman's corpse, their faces showed no surprise, as if they already knew who had killed her. On the other side, the fleeing family breathed a sigh of relief, but soon they had to stop the car because a large tree had fallen across the road. Everyone got out to assess the situation. Benji was talking to his grandmother about his father when he noticed a flare lying on the ground. He picked it up and kept it with him before sitting in the driver's seat while his uncle prepared ropes to clear the tree. Suddenly, Benji heard a strange sound from the road. When he looked ahead, the terrifying mutant deer was standing right there. In a panic, he pressed the accelerator hard. The car jolted forward, and the rope caught his uncle's leg, dragging him along, while his cousin was left behind. The mutant deer ignored the trailer and went straight toward the cousin, who panicked and ran into the forest, hiding behind a tree. But the beast caught his scent and slowly closed in. Terrified, he ran again and fell into the creature's filth. Bambi sniffed his face, but just then the distant sound of deer calls drew the mutant monster away. Meanwhile, the car stopped because it ran out of fuel, forcing Maya and her son to step outside. They saw the uncle tied behind the trailer, lifeless. Benji came to see him as well, and at that moment, Maya realized her mother was left alone in the trailer. They rushed there only to find Mary missing. They saw her walking toward the forest and followed. Another brother searched for a mobile signal, but when he heard branches breaking and looked, it was only a rabbit. Angrily, he kicked it, and instantly, mutant rabbits appeared, growling and cunningly leading him toward a hidden bear trap. He slipped, fell, and his head got caught. Within seconds, the mutant rabbits swarmed and devoured him, all captured on a camera mounted on a nearby tree. Meanwhile, Mary walked deeper into the darkness, humming. Maya told Benji to stay behind and went after her mother, who whispered that she could feel the presence of death all around. At that moment, Benji lit the flare. In its glow, Maya saw human skeletons and fresh remains scattered everywhere. As soon as the light died, they heard sounds nearby. Through the mist, Benji saw the monstrous mutant creature glaring at them. Its terrifying growl made the family run for their lives until they reached the road. Luckily, a car arrived, and inside were the hunters. Their leader told them they would take the family home where they could call the police. But Maya did not know the hunters were setting a trap for the dangerous mutant deer, Bambi. Soon they arrived at a shed in the forest. As everyone got out, a sound came from one corner. The leader raised his gun and called someone out. When a man emerged, Benji saw it was his father, shocking Maya. She had never known that her husband had been working with this gang of hunters while pretending to go on business trips. Moments later, he scolded Maya angrily for going to her mother's house despite his warnings. Maya demanded to know why he always lied about business trips to come here. Their argument broke Benji's heart. He left the house in anger and sadness, wandering into the forest. There, he heard the growls of the mutant deer and followed them until he saw two hunters carrying a baby deer in a cage. Inside the house, Maya entered the operation room, picked up the phone, and desperately tried to call the police. But the leader pointed his gun at her, stopping her from making the call. Seeing this, Maya looked toward her husband, but he avoided her gaze. Her eyes then fell on the computer screen, which displayed several terrifying modified creatures. She asked what was really going on. The leader revealed that they were a cleanup group capturing mutant animals to sell on the black market. This made Maya even angrier at her husband, because now their son was in danger because of him. She rushed to Mary's side, but Benji was missing. Frightened, Maya went outside to look for him. Meanwhile, Benji began following two hunters who were controlling a small caged animal by scaring it. One of the hunters went off alone to relieve himself. As he was alone in the forest, he thought he saw something and reached for his radio to call his friend. Suddenly, the terrifying mutant creature attacked him, killing him instantly. His companion waited in the forest for his friend and tried to contact him via radio, but received no response. He went into the forest to search. At the same time, Benji reached the cage and began freeing the small deer. A little further on, the other hunter found his friend's mangled corpse and panicked, trying to call for help. Then, in the distance, the massive mutant deer, Bambi, appeared in a hunting stance. Inside the operation room, the assistant saw on the monitors that Benji was freeing the creature from the cage and immediately reported it to the leader. Angry, the leader grabbed his gun and rushed outside. Meanwhile, the assistant watched Bambi chasing a hunter who ran to a car parked near the shed and tried to start it. The creature smashed the window and grabbed him. The hunter tried to escape from the other side, but the mutant deer blocked him, ripped his head off, and killed him. At the same time, the leader called his assistant over the radio, but she ignored it, packed her belongings, and tried to leave. Suddenly, she saw Bambi approaching. Lady Mary, still in the living room, saw the massive mutant creature entering the room and advancing as if to devour them. Then the creature heard a noise from the side and turned toward it. The sound had been made accidentally by the assistant. Suddenly, the mutant attacked the door. The assistant realized that the creature was about to enter the shed. In a panic, she fired multiple bullets, but none hit the monster. By accident, she shot a gas canister nearby, causing a massive explosion that destroyed half of the shed. Meanwhile, in the forest, the leader found Benji just as his mother, Maya, arrived with her husband. The leader demanded that Benji hand over the creature, but he refused. Even his father tried to force him, yet Benji would not comply. At that moment, a low growl echoed around them. When everyone turned, the massive mutant deer was still alive, staring directly at them. It charged at the leader. The leader fired, but Bambi dodged and tossed him aside with its antlers. Meanwhile, Maya and her husband argued while the creature slowly approached Benji. His father, paralyzed by fear, ran away, leaving Maya with no choice. She drew the monster's attention toward herself and told Benji to run, but he stood his ground, saying he would not leave leave the small deer alone. Maya understood, told her son to stay quiet, and approached the small deer herself. For the first time, the monstrous deer softened when it saw its child, showing tenderness and protectiveness. Everything became clear. The mutant deer's violence was not revenge against humans, but a desperate attempt to reclaim its offspring, whose mother had been killed by hunters when it was young, forcing it into a life of survival in the forest. Over time, its habitat was destroyed, and chemical-laced water transformed it into the monstrous creature. Even innocent rabbits became terrifying mutant animals. Yet somewhere deep inside, the mother's heart still lived. Seeing her child safe, she decided to spare Maya and Benji. At that moment, the leader, still alive, shot the deer in the leg. It fell, and he continued firing in rage until someone shot him. It was Lady Mary. She was relieved that her grandson was safe, but unfortunately, the massive mutant deer died from its injuries, leaving its child alone in the world. In the final twist, Benji's father tried to flee into his car, but heard noises from the back seat and stopped, finding nothing there. When he looked forward, he saw a mutant rabbit sitting on the dashboard. Shocked by the small but deadly creature's powerful presence, he tried to escape, but the story ends there, leaving the horror and suspense unresolved.